I think a lot of times people's primary relationships that they have and some of the closest relationships that they have come from their job, and they come from the people that they spend 8 hours a day working with. My company is headquartered in Boston, which means I spend 8 hours a day in my office by myself, or I spend it in an airplane or at a hotel, so it can feel pretty disconnected. Over the last few years, I've worked with several of my colleagues. There's a group of usually about 10 of us that participate in a Bible study that we have bi-weekly. Rather than talking about meeting a quota number or sales goals, we've had conversations about what does it mean to effectively raise your children to be believers and to be effective followers of Christ as they get older. And that sort of setting has allowed me to have people that I work with and support on a regular basis, but also see them as mentors in other areas of my life. Like any other sales organization, we recognize top performers. And if I look at that group of people, there were a significant portion of us that were represented in the group of top performers across 2,000 people. And I think, I'm not saying God has to bless that, but it's really cool for me to see how God has blessed that group of people. And that means that He's blessed their family, but it also means that He's blessing us all with more influence in the company.
What's up, City Hope? Listen, today's a really big day. It's not the day for you to skip your coffee. Be excited to be in church, man. Today's a really, really big day. It's an exciting day. Let me just welcome all the campuses, man. It's so good to have you guys with us. And I'm sure that all the other campuses had way more energy at first thing in the morning than Malbus did. But Malbus, do me a favor. Stir up all that energy you got and help me welcome our church family. Come on. Give them a little bit more love. There you go. It's so good to have you guys with us. Foley, Bay Minette, Mobile, the guys at the correctional facilities, everybody that's watching online. It's great having you guys with us today as we continue, and actually as we wrap up Made for Mondays. Today's our last weekend of this, but really what's even bigger than that is Above and Beyond, and just what we get to do today together in celebrating the vision and where God's going to take us. And so just in a few minutes, I'm gonna wrap up the series, and then we're gonna do this amazing thing where we all get to bring this offering and just partake in something that's truly special that God's in the middle of. But before I get to Made for Mondays, I do just want to mention a couple of things that we've got coming up that we're in a really an amazing run right now between Above and Beyond, and then next weekend is Palm Sunday, which is, for us this year, it's going to be a really, really special Sunday. So I just want to encourage you not to miss it. I know we got some spring breaks happening randomly, different times. Everybody's on different spring breaks, all the campuses. So I just want to encourage you guys, if you can be here for Palm Sunday, be here. We're going to kick off the Holy Week in just a really unique and special way that kind of leads us up to Easter. And of course, we know Easter is going to be incredible. So as usual, and your campus pastors have already been talking about it, we're inviting, but ultimately we're bringing. Man, we're finding people that we can bring to church with us. And I just want to encourage you that over the next couple of weeks, really be praying and asking God, who are those one or two people, that family or that couple or that individual, man, that God just says, hey, that's the one. I want you not to just give them a flyer. Don't just link them or like something, or send them something on Facebook or whatever, but really go out of your way to actually tap them on the shoulder, send a text, make a phone call, and do whatever you can do to get them here that weekend, because it's going to be really, really incredible. And it's all geared toward that. It's all geared toward the lost, so that we can reach the lost. That's what we're all about. That's what we're doing. That's what we're making a really big, that's what Above and Beyond is all about. And actually, as we wrap up Made for Monday, it's what today is all about as well. If we go all the way back to the beginning of the series, we talked about a couple of things in week one. We talked about that work is good. We talked that work is sacred. In other words, it's worship. It's something that you can actually do to God. But then we also said that work is meaningful. That work can become mission, that the mundane, the moan day of your life, that Monday, the worst thing in the world, can actually become meaningful, and it can become mission. And that's what I kind of want to unpack today. I want to talk about that for a few minutes before we even get to Above and Beyond. I just want to unpack what that looks like in our everyday life. And throughout this series, there's a couple of different books that have really jumped out to me, and I love recommending resources to you. And I know some of you guys have just really kind of grabbed onto this series, and it's been so life-giving to your work and to your job and your mission in life. And so I want to give you 2 book recommendations before I really jump in today. And these are the 2 books that I want to recommend to you. Now, listen, we can post these on social media. You don't have to take a picture real quick and all that stuff. We can post these and kind of let you know. But this first one's called Margin. Both of these are written by believers, but they're not written by pastors. Margin's written by a doctor. It's an incredible book about work-life balance, about creating margin. And if you, by any chance right now, are thinking, like I could ever read a book, I don't have time for that, then that's probably the book you need to read, okay? Because it's all about putting margin in your life. It's all about work-life balance, which we kind of began to scratch that surface a little bit last weekend. You definitely need to check that out. And then Ken Costa's book, God at Work, which is phenomenal. Ken Costa, if you're not familiar with him, he is an investment banker in London, a very high-end, just an incredible guy. But he does this kind of ministry on the side where he just speaks life into believers in the workplace. So this book, God at Work, and then he's also got another book called Know Your Why. And what's cool about that is he actually wrote God at Work first, and then he came back and he wrote this book called Know Your Why, which is kind of a prequel to God at Work, but it's all about how God's wired you and how God's made you. And in the book of May, in the month of May, we're actually going to do a life class based on Know Your Why, all around this idea of made for Mondays, that God made us for so much more than just Sundays, that there's purpose and there's potential in every single day of your week. So if either one of those kind of speak to you, grab them. I think that they'll help you out a whole lot. Well, every week of this series, we've been kind of kicking off with this verse in Romans 12, verse 1. It says this: so here's what I want you to do, God helping you. Take your everyday, ordinary life, your sleeping, eating, going to work, and walking around life, and place it before God as an offering. Like literally put it all right before him. Give it all to him. And embracing what God does for you is the best thing that you can do for him. He's saying, listen, no matter how small you think it is, no matter how insignificant that part of your life you think it is, if you will put it before him, then he goes before it, right? Then all of a sudden it gives that thing purpose and it gives that thing meaning. And we've talked about Colossians 3:23 before, that everything we do is unto God. Everything we do is worship to him. And really that's what this is all about. That's what today is all about. We said in week 1, just to kind of recap and kind of remind you that vocation, the word vocation comes from the Latin word vocare, which means calling or to call. And what's interesting about it to me is that if you want to, if you choose to, then you could see whatever you do right now, your vocation, whether it's your dream job or right now you're spending a lot of time dreaming about your next job, wherever you are in that spectrum, you can decide right now that this job I'm in, this vocation I'm in is my calling because God's given me purpose right where I am. That purpose isn't on Sundays only, it's on Mondays. It's every single day. It's throughout my week. It's every single thing that I do. And this is why I can say, and I can make this bold statement that I've made before, that I believe that the next great revival in America should come through the marketplace. It should come through marketplace leaders, marketplace ministers, you that go out into your world and you're out in the marketplace doing whatever you do Monday through Friday, that's where the next revival should be, because we've got to catch the idea, we've got to catch the truth that whenever you leave this place that you go into ministry. Whenever you leave this place, we're rallying, we're excited, we're celebrating God, but whenever you walk away from here, right? You go into the ministry, you go into the field, you go into that place where every single day, wherever you are, you're there to reach the lost. And man, I just believe if every single Christ follower caught that and understood that and brought purpose into their 9 to 5, brought purpose into every day of their life, then everything would be different. John 17, Jesus prays this prayer. Listen, now this is Jesus praying to Father God. Listen to what he says. He says, God, I'm not asking you to take them out of the world, but keep them safe from the evil one. Listen, he's saying whenever they give their life to me, don't remove them from their current situation. Don't pull them out of that environment. Don't take them from that place. Leave them right where they are, because that's where they're most needed. Protect them where they are, in that toxic environment, in that terrible workplace, wherever you find yourself right now. Jesus is literally praying on your behalf. God, don't take them out of that place. Protect them, but they don't belong to this world any more than I do. Make them holy by your truth. Teach them your word, which is truth. Just as you sent me into the world, Lord, I'm sending them into the world. He's saying, God, just as you sent me here to do what I came to do on this planet, I'm sending them into the world to do the exact same thing. Because the people that you come in contact with every single day, guess what? Number one, I don't come in contact with them. You do. And they are the same people that Jesus Christ loves so much that he came to this earth and he died for them. The people that you don't like, the people that are rooting for Auburn, or the people that are rooting for Alabama, right? The ones that you're like, I see, there's no similarities whatsoever in that human being. Jesus Christ died for them, and you are with them every single day. I'm not. You are. Jesus isn't. He is through you every single day. Right? If you're in school, then the place you're at right now, that professor, that teacher, those other students, the lunch lady, whoever it is, Jesus Christ died for that human being. And I'm not there every day. Our pastoral team, we're not there every day. You are. You're called to be in that place, to be ministers, to be light, to be exactly what God has called you to be. So here's what I want you to get today. Here's what I want you to really take away is this. Where you are is where he needs you to be. Where you are right now is where Jesus Christ needs you to be. He put you on mission. He put you in that place. Now listen, your job may change tomorrow. I hope you chose it. I hope they didn't choose it, but it may change tomorrow. But wherever you end up is where he wants you to be. It's where he's put you. It's the place, and you've got to catch that and see that because that's what he's called you to do. To go back to John 17, this prayer that Jesus prays, in the Message translation, to make it even more clear, it says this, in the same way that you gave me a mission, I give them a mission in the world. You know what Jesus' mission was? It was very, very clear. Luke 19, he says this is his mission. For the Son of Man came to seek and save those who are lost. And Jesus says, listen, Lord, I've given them the exact same mission. It's simple. It's simple. The mission is to seek and save the lost. Mobile Campus, the mission is to seek and save the lost. Foley, the mission is to seek and save the lost. That's why we're here. That's why when we give our life to Jesus Christ, he doesn't remove us from that current toxic whatever situation. He leaves us there so that we can be the light that we're called to be, so that we can be in that place that he put us. And one of the most amazing sermons that Jesus preached, and actually, it's the longest one that we have record of. We call it the Sermon on the Mount. And he paints this amazing picture of what we're to be in the world, of what we're to be that whenever he leaves us there, he saves us, he changes us, he's radically changing our lives, but then he leaves us there. And there's this picture that he paints of who we're supposed to be there. And this is the first picture. In Matthew 5, he paints this picture. Let me tell you why you're here. You're here to be salt seasoning that brings out the God flavors of this earth. If you lose your saltiness, how will people taste godliness? You've lost your usefulness and will end up in the garbage. The first thing that Jesus tells us, the picture that he paints of who we're to be in this world is salt, is to be salt. Now listen, I love salt. Anybody else like salt, right? I know it's maybe not the most healthy thing in the world, right? But I love salt. Man, I could put a little bit of salt on everything. But here's what none of us like to do or want to do. None of us want to take the top off the salt shaker and dump the salt on our food, right? Nobody wants to do that because it immediately takes this thing that adds flavor and all of a sudden it adds bitterness. All of a sudden it adds this whole other layer. And there's this perfect picture of what Jesus is telling us is every single day, wherever you go, add salt. Be salt. Live that kind of life. Live that kind of life. In other words, listen, the idea behind salt is to dash salt, not to dump salt. And when it comes to evangelism, a lot of times we are guilty of two things. Either we don't do any evangelism whatsoever. We don't share our faith. We're scared of it. It terrifies us, whatever. Or we go the other direction, and there's this misconception that the only way to evangelize, the only way to share my faith is to get someone all the way to the line of conversion, to get someone all the way across the line of faith. And that's not true. That's not really what we're there to do. We're there to plant seeds. We're there to water what's there. But those of you that lean toward this side, right, you don't dash salt, you dump salt. And we'll just call it seagull evangelism. You swoop and poop. You just swoop and poop. Boom, done. Okay, I did my thing, right? I'm gonna try my best. I'm gonna hit them with everything I got at one shot. Here we go. But that's not what salt is. Salt is just a little dash every single day. It's consistency. It's just a little bit here and there. Ultimately, what salt does is it adds flavor. It adds flavor to life. And what we know, you and I as Christ followers, we know that there's a lot of flavor to this world. Everybody else, they just don't see it. They need the salt that we have. They need the life that we have. And every single day we can sprinkle, we can dash, we can put a little bit of that on. We can add value to our life. We can add value to those people around us. We can just put a little bit of salt on every single thing that we do. It's not just this dump and go. It's every single day. It's consistency. It's not a one-hit wonder. It's every single day. I'm going to put a little bit of salt. I'm going to add value. And we're talking about work. So let me ask you this. How can you add value at work? How can you be the kind of person at work that's adding value, that's helping people, that's adding salt, that's adding flavor to the work around you? Because if you don't like your work, probably nobody else does either. So what can you do to begin changing that? What can you do to begin, people seeing things a little bit different? How can you add flavor? Listen, before you ever say a word about your faith, there are a few things that open the door for you. And those things add flavor. Those things are excellence. Those things are integrity. Those things are honesty. Those things are work ethic. Those things are being a good employee. Those things just force people to lean in and go, what's different over here? Right? What is this? Why? Because we're adding flavor. We're adding salt. We're adding something different to life. We're adding something different to work. And let me say it this way. Evangelism, sharing your faith, starts with you doing a good job at work. Before you ever open your mouth, you better be doing a good job at work. Why? Because no one will listen to a word out of your mouth unless they respect you. Put that up there, because they need to see this. No one will listen to you if they don't respect you. If they look at you and they go, this guy always comes in late, he doesn't really care about his job, he doesn't really care if we meet this or match that, or if we get this sale or we get this deal, he's just here punching a clock, then why in the world, when you open up about your faith, about your excellent God who's full of integrity and honesty, who has an amazing work ethic, why in the world, when you open up about him, will they ever respect you when you don't represent any of those things? If we're going to add salt into the life, then it means that we got to make things better. We got to make things better. Everywhere we go, they should be getting better. No one's going to listen to you if they don't respect you. Colossians 3, to go back to that same verse that we've said in a couple of times. And the Message translation is one of my favorites. It's a little bit hard, so just hang on. Servants, do what you're told by your earthly masters. And don't just do the minimum that will get you by, but do your best. Work from the heart for your real master, for God, confident that you'll get paid in full when you come into your inheritance. Keep in mind always that the ultimate master you're serving is Christ. Listen to this. The sullen servant who does shoddy work will be held responsible. You'll be held responsible. Being a follower of Jesus doesn't cover up bad work. Let me say it this way. Being a Christ follower doesn't cover up bad work, but bad work covers up being a Christ follower. When you're not giving it your all, when you're not all in and you're not adding value to where you spend 30% of your life, then no one's going to listen to you and no one's going to believe you when you say, I'm a Christ follower. They're going to call you on it. They're going to call you on your bluff because you're not living it every single day of your life. As a Christ follower, we're salt. We're adding flavor. We're adding value. We're bringing things up. We're raising the temperature. We're bringing everything up a level. Last week, I kind of talked about this too, about being faithful where you are and going in 100%, man, giving it your 100%. And I found this online this week, and this is not the 100% that I was talking about, but I believe that this is what a lot of us do. This is the 100% that a lot of you think you're supposed to give at work. 12% on Monday, 23% on Tuesday, 40% on Wednesday, big day. Big day. Lots happening around the office. 23% on Thursday and then 2% on Friday. It's the weekend, baby. Right? I mean, this is not the 100% that I'm talking about, right? 100% is every day I walk in going, how can I help this place? How can I help my coworkers? How can I move things forward? And I've said this before and I'm going to say it again. I believe that Christ followers should be the best employees on the planet. Let me push that a little bit further. I believe that City Hopers should be the best employees on the planet. I believe it, man. I believe it. I believe that HR directors should be hiding out in our commons on the weekends trying to recruit our people. Just like, I got the secret sauce, man. Let me just hang out in the commons. I'm gonna grab that volunteer. I'm gonna grab this person. Why? Because City Hope gets it. We get it, right? We're all in. We understand that ultimately it's all for God. It's all for him. There's a guy in our church by the name of Trevor, and he works at a bank here in the area. And listen to what he said. This is an email that he sent me. Check this out. When there have been open positions at the bank, I've had my recruiting coordinator ask me more than once if I knew of anyone from City Hope that was looking for a job. She said that the people she's hired that she later found out were City Hopers were all extremely good and had natural ability to build amazing relationships with clients. Boom! That's what I'm talking about. See, look, that's the salt life. That's the salt life. That's when the door is open to evangelism. Now, all of a sudden, there's this clean road to begin sharing my faith and talking about the change that God's made in my life. But unless I do this, forget about it. Unless I live that kind of life out front and I'm adding salt to everything that I do, then why would anyone listen to you? Because they don't respect you. They don't respect what you do. The second thing, the second picture that Jesus paints in Matthew 5 is this. Here's another way to put it. You're here to be light, bringing out the God colors in the world. God is not a secret to be kept. We're going public with this, as public as a city on a hill. If I make you light bearers, you don't think I'm going to hide you under a bucket, do you? I'm putting you on a light stand. Now that I've put you there on a hilltop, on a light stand, shine. Keep open house. Be generous with your lives. By opening up to others, you'll prompt people to open up with God, this generous Father in heaven. The second thing is we're to be light. We're to be salt, but we're to be light. What does that mean? We're to shine. We're to be bright. Wherever we are, we're to be bright. We're to be that thing. And what I love about this translation, I love Eugene Peterson and the way he unpacks this, because it's beautiful, because these God colors, they're in the world right now. They're there. Your coworkers are so blinded by darkness that they don't see the God colors, and it's up to us to be the light that reveals it. Isn't that cool? Isn't that amazing that it's the light that comes from our life that helps people see that there is good and there is wonderful things that actually exist on this planet? God is here. You just got to see it, and we are the ones that reveal that. What does that mean? That means that you can't keep your faith a secret. If it takes someone at your job 2 years to find out you're a Christ follower, then you're doing something wrong. Like, that should just be one of those things. It's a part of your conversation. It's a part of your life. It's a part of who you are, that you're not afraid of it. You're not timid. You're not shy of it. And I know some of us, we're like, I don't want to be the weird one. I don't want to be this one. I don't want to be that. I don't want to come in strong. I don't want to do all these kind of things. But listen, there is an authentic thing that has happened in your heart and in your life. And you need to talk about it. You need to be real and be open about it. Now, the other side of this thing, the flip side, is that you can't be the morality police. That's not who we're called to be. It's pointless to judge sinners for being sinners. Guys, that's what sinners do. Right? And we can't go in with this finger and pointing at people and be the negative Nancy around the office that everyone's scared of. Everyone's, all they're going to do is they're going to talk down about my weekend. No, you're the one that's coming in and just bringing hope in that place. No matter what else happened, no matter what else is going on, I'm bringing light, I'm bringing hope, I'm bringing Jesus into this place. Right? I was talking to a friend of mine this past week, and I was just kind of looking for ideas. Hey, what are ways in the marketplace during your week that you find ways of bringing up Jesus, of bringing up your faith, bringing up church, bringing up these things? And here are a couple of ideas that he gave me. The first one is this, and this is kind of funny. Talk about your weekend. My guess is on Monday morning, everyone else is talking about their weekend. Do you talk about your weekend? Do you talk about church? Do you talk about what God did through you or in you or something that happened at church, right? Everyone else is talking about their weekend. Hey, let me tell you about my weekend. Let me tell you the Serve project that my small group did this weekend. Let me tell you about the mission trip that I went on a couple of weeks ago, right? Finding ways of bringing these things up. Anytime you start a new job or you start a new role, maybe within a company, you shift to a new role, there's always those moments where somebody, hey, tell me a little bit about you. My guess is the three things you tell are not, one of them is not that I love Jesus Christ, that I'm a Christ follower. It's probably the day you were married, how many kids you have, how awesome life is, or the boat you have, or the college you went to, or whatever. But never do you say, and you know what? I'm a Christ follower. right? It's just a part of your conversation. It's a part of your life. It's a part of what you do. Any kind of team development type moments. Again, those moments come up where you're trying to bond as a team, you're trying to develop as a team, and you're trying to find out more about each other. This is a valuable part of your life to open up and to talk about. Anytime as a leader, you're assigning books, right? And if you're not assigning books, if you're a leader and you're not assigning books, you probably ought to. As a way to just develop your team, develop your leaders, but assign strategic books. Assign books like Margin. That's not necessarily a Christian book, but it's interwoven all the way through it. A John Maxwell book. Again, it's a spiritual book, but it's not a Jesus book. It's not this constant thing, right? Be strategic about it. Talk about it. There's an event in August that we do every year called Global Leadership Summit. It's an amazing, amazing team leadership development event. It's a 2-day thing. And the amazing thing about this event, this conference, is that companies will pay to send their employees to it. Because it's leadership development. It's 2 days of leadership development, learning how to do what you do better, right? And peppered all the way through it is the gospel of Jesus Christ. But it's big names, it's massive names that you would recognize that are there, and companies will pay to send their team to it, right? Take advantage of these kind of things and begin to talk about your faith, begin to be open about your faith, be bright, be light, be those things in your job every single day. There's 2 questions that I want you to ask. 2 questions, and the first one is this: who can I help? Every day, whenever you walk into work or you show up on a job site or you show up at the school, whatever it is, who can I help? Because this is what Jesus did. When you look at the ministry of Jesus Christ, what he did was he went into a town, he immediately went after the need. He immediately went after those that truly needed help. And my guess is wherever you work, there are people all around you that their marriages are falling apart. They're on drugs, they're on some other substance, their finances are in shambles, there's an illness in the family, things are tough, things are hard. How can you step in and be light in that scenario? Not preach at them. They don't need you to preach at them right now. They need you to step up and just help them. Just be light in their darkness, right? Because light drives out darkness. And when you step in as the light and you begin to shine, then the God colors become evident. They were always there in the first place. They begin to see the hope that you have. They begin to realize that this is what they're talking about. This is the truth of what they're talking about. Who can you help? How can you help somebody? Who in your job is struggling right now that you need to start a conversation with? You need to go befriend, that you need to say, hey, how can I serve you, man? I know you guys are going through something. There's whatever this thing is, can I pick your kids up? Can I help you run an errand? Can I do something? Who can you serve? Who can you be there for and truly help them? And then the second question is this: what can I say? This is what always gets us. What can I say? How do I talk about this without being weird? Man, I don't want to be weird. I don't want to be that guy. What can I say? I'll tell you what you can say. 1 Peter 3:15 says this: always be prepared to give an answer to anyone who asks you to give a reason for the hope that you have. And then this last line is so important, but do this with gentleness and respect. Do this with gentleness and respect. The hope that you have, the light that you have, why do you have it? There was a moment in your life that you were hopeless, that you were living in dark, that you couldn't see your hand in front of your face and you felt like life was caving in on top of you, and the light showed up. Jesus showed up. Your story changed. There was a healing. There was something happened, and God intersected with you as a human being, and everything changed. That's what you say. That's your story. Because no one can ever argue your story, because it's your story. It's what God did in you, in your life, in your family. He restored, he healed, he brought this thing back together. He did something that only God could do. A supernatural event took place. That's what you share. A super practical thing is this: go home and write your story. Super practical, man. Just write your story. Don't write 3 pages of your story, because when you're sharing your faith with someone, you can't give them 3 pages. A good rule of thumb is about 150 words. Paragraph, 2 paragraphs, just a little bit, where you literally hit these big things of saying, here's where I was, and here's what God did. And here's now why I have hope, and why there's light, and there's love, and there's joy in my heart, that even though things aren't always great at my house either, but I have hope because of Jesus Christ. Who can I help? What can I say? Your story. That's why you have hope, is because Jesus intersected with your humanity at some point and everything changed. And that's where we open up our mouth. A couple of weeks ago, Billy Graham passed away. And what an amazing man of God, just an amazing legacy and history and all that he had done and the ministry that God did through him. And one of the interviews that I saw afterwards, and you may have seen the same interview, I think it was kind of floating around and it picked up a lot of steam, but it was Kathy Lee Gifford. And it was amazing, and someone asked her this question, and apparently, I didn't realize it, but her whole family was brought to Christ through Billy Graham's ministry, and it was just amazing. But Kathy Lee shares this story. She was asked this question. Before I tell you what she says, this is what she was asked. Who is there today that has Billy Graham's kind of message? Now listen to this. Okay, this is a skeptical question. Who is it today that has this kind of message that's uplifting, that's joyful, that's faithful, kind of message that helps me get reconnected, that doesn't shame me, doesn't guilt me, someone who's nonpartisan, who's full of love, who's free of scandal? Listen, there just aren't that many Billy Grahams out there. You feel how skeptical this is? We're doomed now. There's just nobody else like this. And this is what good old Kathy Lee Gifford comes back with. Listen to this. She says, there are so many people of sincere faith, though. There are many in our pulpits, but it might also be your plumber. God has his people everywhere. It may also be your accountant. It may be your banker. It may be your dental hygienist, right? It may be your barista. It may be the guy that does your lawn. Whoever it is, we are to be hope. We are to be light. We are to be love. We are to uplift and bring joy into every single thing that we do. Why? Because we have that hope. Because we have that life. Because we've seen the God colors in this world. We know. We know it exists. We know what it does. As we leave this place in a few minutes, I want you to realize that you're not dismissed. You're sent. You're sent into the world to be Jesus. The way we reach the lost, the way we reach people, is not just here. See, the goal is eventually you go out and you win the loss and you share your faith, but you bring them here to meet the family. You bring them here to be a part of the church and to be a part of what God wants to do here. But ultimately, if you don't take Jesus out there, then they won't ever know about the love or the light or the hope or the joy that they could have. It's up to us. Jesus has to leave the building. And he leaves the building through you and I. And he leaves the building on Mondays and Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Thursdays and Fridays. Every single day of our life and every single situation, we're taking Jesus with us to win the loss. And that's why I say we're made for Mondays. We're made to go into this world and worship God through our work and through everything that we do. And we're made to be on mission and to realize that it's all about reaching the lost. I want to pray over you. Let's pray. Jesus, right now, I just pray for a passion to well up inside of us, Lord, for the lost, to truly reach the lost. God, that we wouldn't just settle with church being this 1 hour a week experience, but God, that it would be something that we take beyond these walls, that we would be truly sent into our world to make a difference, God, for your glory, for your kingdom, to seek and save the lost. That's why we're here. And I pray, God, that we as a church would commit to that. We wouldn't just sit back and let it happen. We would just sit back and let the weekend experience do all of the heavy lifting. But God, we would go into the city. We would go into the communities. We would go into the marketplace. And God, truly see lives changed. Lord, we love you and we thank you. In Jesus' name, amen.